Okay, so let's solve this problem. So to find the coefficient of x to the power 5 from this given equation, so using this formula, but take note that n sub 1 plus n sub 2 plus n sub 3 is equal to n. Then from this given, this is the first term, the second term, and the third term, and this exponent is equal to n. Then we need to create a table to find the possible values for n sub 1, n sub 2, and n sub 3. Then from this equation, so substitute the value of the first term, the second term, and the third term. So we have 2 to the power n sub 1 times negative x to the power n sub 2 times x squared to the power n sub 3. So to find now the possible values for n sub 1, n sub 2, and n sub 3, so if this n sub 3 is equal to 1, so n sub 3 equals 1, so this x to the power 2 to the power 1 becomes x to the power 2. Since we're looking for the coefficient of x to the power 5, so therefore we need to have x to the power 3. So this n sub 2 is equal to 3. So n sub 2 is equal to 3. Then since the sum of n sub 1, n sub 2, and n sub 3 is equal to n, and n is equal to 4, so therefore n sub 1 is equal to 0. Because 1 plus 3 plus 0, that's equal to 4. Then for n sub 3 equals 2, so this becomes 2, so x to the power 2 to the power 2, that's x to the power 4. So therefore, we need to have x, because 1 plus 4, that's 5. So n sub 2 is equal to 1. So n sub 2 is equal to 1. Then for n sub 1, so 2 plus 1, that's 3. So therefore, n sub 1 is equal to 1. Then for n sub 3 equals 3, so if this one is equal to 3, so x to the power 2 to the power 3, that's x to the power 6. But since we're looking for x to the power 5, so therefore, this is not the possible value for n sub 3. Then this time, since we have now all the possible values for n sub 1, n sub 2, and n sub 3, so substitute these values to this formula. So for these values, so we have this n factorial, and n is equal to 4. So that's 4 factorial din over n sub 1 factorial, that's 0 factorial, times n sub 2 factorial, so that's 3 factorial, and n sub 3 factorial, that's 1 factorial, din times the first term, 2 to the power n sub 1, that's 0, then times the second term, that's negative x to the power n sub 2, that's 3, times the third term, that's x to the power 2 to the power n sub 3, that's 1. Then for these values, so we have 4 factorial din over n sub 1 factorial, so 1 factorial, times n sub 2 factorial, so 1 factorial times 2 factorial, then times 2 to the power 1, then times negative x to the power 1 times x squared to the power 2. Then simplify. So this 4 factorial, that's 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, that's equal to 24. So we have 24 then over this 0 factorial is 1, 3 factorial, this one is 6 times 1, so this one is 6. Then times this 2 to the power 0, that's 1. Then times negative x to the power 3 times x to the power 2. Then for this equation, so 4 factorial, that's 24, then over 1 factorial is 1, this one is 1, and 2 factorial, that's 2. So 1 times 2, that's 2. Then times this 2 to the power 1, that's 2, times negative x times 2 times 2, that's x to the power 4. Then simplify. So this 24 divided by 6, that's 4. And 4 times 1, that's 4, times negative x to the power 3. So we have negative 4, then x to the power 5. Then for this equation, so 24 divided by 2, that's 12. And 12 times 2, that's 24. Times negative x, that's negative 24, then x to the power 5. Then add these two numbers. So negative 4 plus negative 24, that's negative 28x to the power 5. So therefore, the coefficient of x to the power 5 is negative 28.